which is the rehab centre that you go to at Green Lane Hospital. Generally they expect you to be there a couple of months, but in my case it was actually more like 5 weeks, which was quite nice. And then of course there's the big pile of pills that you end up being on, which, we're generally all fairly familiar with that anyway, but in this case it's I'm actually only really on about 3 more than I was before, so it's actually not that big a deal, especially when you consider that it's 3 more pills compared to the IVs, the nebulizers, all that sort of crap. And, we get a few days on and life just starts becoming that little bit boring. And I started doing Where's Wally puzzles. And started hunting around on the internet for Where's Wally puzzles. And even we started going around malls looking for them and had a great deal of trouble. But eventually I did find some on Trade Me, which was quite nice. So I had a few packages turn up to Hardy Towers, which was quite cool. But I guess the reason I put this in is that, the fact I was bored meant that I wasn't sick. I didn't have any major complications that were doing anything to me. So certainly I'll take that any day of the week. So 6 weeks for 6 fingers, as it says, or vice versa. Just basically we started taking photos again to show how things were progressing. And those damn sexy legs of mine. Well, compared to the absolute sticks that I had the day of transplant, to actually be starting to get some muscle on them even just after 6 weeks, because this was the same day, was, bloody good. And a week later we unfortunately got a little bit sunburnt, as you can sort of see on the old arms and that. Went up to the Auckland Luge, and it was a very, very hot day, and there's if you've been there, there's nothing covering anything, so yeah, that was a little bit painful for a couple of days, but never mind, even though there's that whole increased risk of cancer that the transplant coordinators kept, hassling me about afterwards, but it was a bit late then, wasn't it? Whoops. So this is my last day in Hardy Towers, so 7 weeks and 6 days after transplant, which is pretty much unheard of for a lung transplant patient to get home quite that early, let alone someone with CF. But because they generally expect you to be there sort of roughly 3 months, sometimes a bit more. But this is obviously what things look like at this point, and couple of guys that had heart transplants there, and of course, because heart transplants, which we get very jealous of, because they're, as Mum calls them, they're takeaways. They come in, they have their transplant, and they're back out again fairly quickly, because these guys had only had their transplants about 8 to 10 days before this photo was taken. So it just shows you how quickly the hearts bounce back. So again, the reason why we're very jealous, especially when you hear about the odd person that, like Lewis in the middle there, who had a 3-hour operation and was up and walking around a few hours after that. Bastard. But anyway, so 3 months post, I had a rebirth party, because let's face it, that's very much what a transplant is. And that was a lot of fun. Had people come from all around the country and whatnot, and just had a big feed outside, and it was good fun. And then my 27th birthday, we had a potluck tea, and all the people that couldn't make it to the rebirth party turned up to that, so that was good. And of course you can see the old face is just getting fatter and fatter from the prednisone and all the weight that I just keep gaining, which is great, by the way. And this is the kids, and when I say the kids, I mean my siblings, but I refer to them as the kids because to me they've always been more like my children to a certain extent, just because of the age gap and the circumstances of life, I guess. And when I look back, it's images like this that very much have gotten me through this. It's been able to have these faces in my head during the walk tests, which were a real struggle, and the times in hospital when you were just really frail and out of it. So having those little faces to hold on to just really did it for me. And now, this is my 19-year-old brother in March at his surf champs over in Gisborne. So to be able to get there and to be able to be support for him now, to have the energy to do it, to not have to lug around all the oxygen equipment and have to be pushed around in a wheelchair, to be able to be there to support him for that sort of thing is really cool. And the same for my little brother Lukey, who's 11 now, to be able to get to his cricket final and take pictures of him, see him and his team win the game that day. And then his triathlon the following day, did the Weet-Bix Kiwi Kids triathlon. So to be able to have the energy to, obviously not be in the triathlon, although, hey, I probably could have done it, but to have the energy to be able to follow him around and just take pictures of him and to be there to support him. That's really what, for me, it was all about. Not just because, they're my kids and I love them so much, but just because, of course, obviously they had a fairly rough time seeing me go through my transplant, and just, of course, other times with my health over the years, especially this one, the 19-year-old, being the oldest and having seen the most of it and being visibly affected by it. So yeah, it's images like these that, it just all makes it worthwhile. And then helping my sister Steph move into uni, just because I managed to get out of Hardy Towers so early. So that's her first day at Waikato earlier this year. And that's my brother Andrew. There are photos of him with pink hair and whatnot, but and this one is a little bit old, but well, it's just the one I like the best. And it's of him holding one of our stepsister Sarah's little twin girls, which are about 2 now, a little over 2, because their birthday's the day before mine, funnily enough. And then, of course, probably the most important people through all this, the ones that certainly had it a lot harder than I did, I should say, because they say that your support people are the ones that have it the hardest, and I firmly believe that. That 6 days I was in a coma, hey, I didn't have, hey, I was just lying there out to it, not knowing what was going on. It was them that was, just absolutely, petrified of what was going to happen. And, I can never repay these people. Their ongoing support has just been absolutely huge, And certainly, they're here today, just in the middle over there. So I encourage everyone afterwards that wants to get a parent's point of view to go and hit them up about it. Sorry to volunteer you for the job, but well, I promise this will be the last time. And this is just a random one. It was taken on my Pix camera, so thus the quality of it. This was the last time I went up to clinic just over a month ago, just to